Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of Six Man. We've got the six man himself, Mr. Ward. We've got House Lasky here, myself. We've got the Lancashire Land Beer, Mr. Harris in the building. Yeah, I was gonna call you Bray there for a second. It's just all the Matthews. And we've got the House of 03, Mr. Warmwood.
Warwood.
Ed doesn't know who anyone is.
Be careful.
Let Ed do the intro. Even know who
Be careful.
I know that is honestly my biggest weakness.
Suspect.
I've got two biggest weaknesses: compliments and doing intros. I hate doing both. I hate both of them. So my question for you guys is: I like to have a bit of humility, and I like to know where I went wrong. So my question is: what is a take that you had that you need to sort of backtrack on that may have been a bit incorrect? And my take was, Alex, you asked us at the start of the year, or at the start of the season, sorry, which team do you reckon may be a bit overrated or may not do as well as everyone anticipated? And I had the right formula, but I was using the wrong numbers. And the team I said was the Suns, because I felt, they literally just went back to the finals. They've got some contract disputes in their team. They've got some front office issues with their owner. Could this be a recipe for success? Chris Paul's getting a bit older. Like, how will the whole team, because they always say that about championship teams, whenever a team wins the championship, everyone feels like they were the main reason why they won the championship. And could you have a little bit that's happening in Phoenix? It was a bit of a lazy take. But I thought, you know what, it could be Phoenix. And it went completely against what I was saying all of last year. When we did Shoot Your Shot, Phoenix was always my go-to answer for that best dynasty team that could win title the next most titles in the next couple of years, whatever. But I was completely wrong about that. They've been on an amazing win streak. They've arguably got, so I think Zach Lowe said this, that they've probably got the fourth best player in the team in the whole league. Miles Bridges is probably better than anyone else's fourth best player in the league. Sorry, Philly fans. And they have just great game against the Warriors. And the way they utilize DeAndre Ayton, I love teams who utilize big men to really good capacity. The one thing I really like about what the Magic do is that when we do play the two big man lineup with Wendell Carter and Mo Bamba, one of them shooting threes, the other one's in the paint getting offensive rebounds. And I love it when like they crash the boards and get those easy buckets of misses. But the way they use DeAndre Ayton, how he can get mismatches and beat mismatches, it's really, really fun. So that was one take I need to get back. And maybe we heard at the start of the season where Trae Young was saying, it's so hard to get for the regular season. Like, you can't be bothered with these games. And it's fair when you go through the playoffs and had that buzz and then you have to go for an 82 schedule, you may lose that. So maybe Hawks would have been a better answer, or maybe George's New York Knicks. They seem to have fallen off a cliff. I didn't say them at the time because you feel that defense can carry on year from year, and it has not. They have not looked good this year at all. I know I've spoken earlier about Evan Fournier, how everyone was loving him in New York in the first week, and I was like, just wait until he gets his inconsistent runs. Randall hasn't been what he was last year. RJ Barrett's arguably taking a step back. I had him last year in fantasy, watched a lot of his games at the Knicks as well. He looked really, really promising, and this year has not been able to have that same amount of impact. So that's the take I need to get back, that the Suns were not going to be good this year. So that's my L. That's the L for House Lasky so far.
It's an L for all of you because you guys let them fall. They went to the finals, man. So I was more than happy to pick them up.
I felt that was going to be quite a strong division. You got Lakers, Clippers, Suns, and Warriors. I thought, they can have some pretty good teams in there, but Lakers and Clippers have not done that well. I was expecting another Paul George MVP type campaign, which he had when he was in OKC, when he was top 3 for MVP, when he just had role players around him. But yeah, you're right.
I just say about the Suns as well. I think it's really important that their winning streak, they won 10 games at home and 8 games away, which shows that it's not just a favourable schedule. They also beat the Warriors without Devin Booker. That's really important. And keeping that core group together. You saw it when Dallas won the championship, when Dirk won his first championship, the whole team completely changed. I know they were getting old and whatever, but keeping the same group that has got you to a certain place, I think it's so important, man. My take or my surprise this year, I think we dogged this team quite a lot. I think we need to give them the respect because I think they're changing the narrative, and that's Cleveland. Cleveland are 13-10 this year. Mobley's been great for them, as well as Jared Allen is playing really well. And I think Bray told me the stat that they have the best interior defense in the league. So, Rubio and Kevin Love coming off the bench, two players that have been forgotten about, and they were big back in the day. But the Cavs, I'm very surprised. I did not expect them to be over 500 at least.
And with Colin Sexton being out, a lot of people are saying that the reason why they're doing much better is because they're much more of a team without Colin Sexton, which I found interesting.
What were you going to say, Matt?
There was glimpses last season that the Cavs could put runs together. Like they started last season off fairly well too, and then they also went for like a very bad patch in the middle of the season, and they nearly did put a run together towards the end, but they kind of fell away a bit. So, yeah, I was left with the Pistons in that division, so not very pleased there because I did actually want the Cavs, but I was the last pick. But I think they've definitely improved and they're making good steps forward.
I remember you having them last year and looking really good.
Again, having had the Cavs this season, I have to agree with Alex on that point because when we were doing the draft and I realized I had the Cavs, I was like, oh no, especially after what Matt was saying last season, how they tugged at his heartstrings. I was thinking, oh boy, now it's my turn. So this has been a very much welcome surprise. But also on top of that, I kind of expected, especially from the Knicks' performance last season, them to be in flip position. So Knicks is currently 11th right now, I believe, in the conference, and Cavs are currently 6th. And like you said, they're on a roll. I think they're on like a 5-game winning streak at the moment. So really good performance for them so far. So yeah, it's been a strange turn of events. I kind of wish they were both kind of up there for me. But yeah, definitely have to agree on that.
Going back to your question, Ed, so it was all about humility, right? And taking a point back, which there's no room for humility here. It's all about egos. So I just want to reinforce a point I made at the start of the season, was when we were talking about the Pacific and which team was strong in that division, I made the case that I didn't think the Lakers will have a good season. And obviously it's still early days, but they are, what's their standings at the moment? They're 12-12. They are the 4th worst team in the Pacific at the moment. Behind, obviously, the Suns and the Warriors, who are just leading that division away. The Clippers are joint with them. And it's only the Kings who are actually 2 games back behind the Lakers. Obviously, there's been some issues in terms of like injuries with both like AD, LeBron. LeBron had like the COVID thing happen to him the other week. He obviously was suspended for 1 game. But I think in terms of when I said it at the time, it's kind of like they just assembled a squad of like Avengers or like a fantasy squad together. And
the Expendables, more Expendables than Avengers.
Oh. But there's no guarantee it's going to work. There's no guarantee it's going to work. And obviously it still remains to be seen because there's a long way in the season to go. But I don't have huge confidence in the Lakers. They will definitely finish in the playoffs, but like they could easily be a first, second round exit. Like that would be no surprise to me, considering how well the Suns, the Warriors are doing in that division. You've obviously got the Jazz as well, who haven't really like dropped off that much from the levels that they were at last season. So
the Lakers thing I found so interesting from as a Magic fan, the whole Frank Vogel thing, because Frank Vogel was never considered an elite coach. He had a really good run in Indiana, and I know obviously situation matters, but we tried to build a pretty good team around him. We traded for Ibaka. We had Vooch, who, as we found out later, is an all-star, and fairly so. We had Victor Oladipo, and actually we traded Victor Oladipo, so he wasn't there then. AG, who is now an important piece for the Nuggets. We had some players, and we did not make the playoffs at all. Steve Clifford's team was a lot worse than the team that Frank Vogel had in Orlando. And then he goes to the Lakers, and I think some people, he's supposed to be a defensive specialist, but defensively, it's really hard to watch that team. But maybe it's also down to the players. When you watch Russ on defense off the board, it's so hard to watch. Like, mate, just get a bit tighter. Get a bit tighter to your man. Like, he's right there. But yeah, I completely hear you. Like, Lakers do not look good. And can LeBron save this team? It looks super, super unlikely. When you were saying, yeah, the Lakers are battling against the Kings, it's not a good sign. It is not a good sign.
They got rid of Caruso, bro.
Yeah.
If
they're going to be kicking themselves.
If the Lakers were expendables, who would they be? So Slice alone would obviously. Oh, actually, LeBron would be Jason Statham, because I always think Jason Statham is the star of the Expendables. I think LeBron is Jason Statham. Who would Russell Westbrook be? And AD, who's always injured? We'll
I
never
need to see who is in the Expendables, and I know you're going to say everybody's in the Expendables.
Yeah, anyone who's big in the
Just
80s or the
say a
90s.
name.
Yeah, anyone who's big in the 80s or the 90s. That was who was in the Expendables. But
Stallone. Is
Pardon?
Arnie in it? Is Arnie in the Expendables?
yes, he's in there for a
Yeah.
little while. He pops in and out.
Terry Crews.
All right, this may be a question for another week. This may be another question. This may be a question for another week. Jord, any take that you want to take back or reinforce?
Yeah, just reinforce, like I mentioned again with the Cavs as well, but also with what you said with Phoenix. I think like at the end of the finals, I kind of jumped on that Stephen A. bandwagon take of, oh, that was CP3's only chance to win a ring. That was it. There's no chance now. And I was like, oh, mate, he might be right, because like Clay's coming back, Nets will be in a better position, which is surprising, and Lakers, of course. And then, yeah, they've just gone around and proved me wrong. No loss November from Devin Booker, as he posted on Twitter.
That's cold, man. Do you know
Yeah.
how cool that is?
Literally,
You haven't lost a game in a single month.
literally.
That's so good.
I mean, it was put to an end by the Warriors, but still, that was a very strong running for that team. And yeah, it's kind of made me think, got to stop listening to Stephen A.
That's a good life lesson. There was I think I mentioned Zach Lowe's pod a bit earlier. There was one about, oh my day, he's just got a fucking fumble. Anyway, I'm just watching the Jags game and they got a fumble on a run place. Gosh, I lost my train of thought now. What were we talking about? Oh, Phoenix, yes. So Suns, Zach Lowe was saying in his podcast, I think it was the first time a team has been on like a 16-game win streak, yet they went into the game against the Warriors being a 7-point underdog. How mad is that? Going on a 16-game win streak and being an underdog. Wow. But it just shows how deep that the Pacific Division is. But yeah. Anyway,